All right, good morning, 9:31. Good morning on you.
Oops.
It's the Link of the Breeze, 93.9, brought to you by First Hawaiian Bank, Calvo Enterprises, and IT&E. Can we pop up that graphic, guys? We did a little graphic here because I was excited when the Republicans in the administration trade press releases. It just really reminds me of my days as a mixed martial arts ring announcer. Right, and I'm gonna send you guys this graphic that we popped up. So we're gonna.
I'll send it to him now so they can.
Okay, right on. So you guys can put that on your Insta. We should start doing this brief for every little. There you go. And now, fighting out of Adelup, he is the governor's policy director.
Well, they're looking at it right now.
Right.
It's on your phone, guys.
Let's bring on Carlo Branch and then the chairman of the Republican Party of Guam, former Senator Tony Anna. Hey guys, unmute. Oh, there. Let's bring on. Yeah.
Here comes the ring girl.
We got the ring.
First of all, Tony's name should always be prime billing on any fight card because he is formerly elected, so his name should always be
Well,
outranking mine.
Carlo, the champ, gets introduced last.
How are you, buddy?
All right. And Bree, can you just really kind of touch on the Republican press release, and then there was a clapback by Adelup that I'll kind of go into, and then we'll take it over to the Zoom.
This is a long press release.
Well, the gist-
Basically, it just says the governor needs a reality check.
Right.
There. Is that short enough for you?
Right. And then
That was in response to the budget.
And then, so we're talking about the budget. Then the response came out of Adelup yesterday. Just a few hours ago, nearly every Republican senator voted to pass a budget funded in part by a business privilege tax of 5%. Takes a great deal of gall to criticize a tax increase and then vote to spend it. Former Governor Eddie Calvo's Republican Party took a surplus and turned it into a deficit.
Let's take this back. This
Yeah.
wasn't regarding the budget. This was actually regarding the audit.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
And so we'll just bring you guys on. And Tony, we'll just start with you. The impetus behind sending out this latest release, because I know you guys have been sending out quite a flurry during the pandemic. So just tell us where was your center on this release, and then we'll take it over to Carlo for the response.
Hi, good morning, Chris. First off, you might want to unmute your mic. We can barely hear you.
Me?
Yeah.
How about now? Sibyllus.
Only hear it on you, but we can barely hear you from your mic. Seems like it's still
Right here.
muted.
This one.
Oh. Sibyllus.
There we go.
Okay,
That's
right on. That's an old Howard Stern joke, guys. Private Parts, the movie. Anyway.
No, that was Saturday Night Live. That
Oh,
was
that's okay.
Yeah, nice.
Our release this morning. Our release yesterday was about the audit findings from the OPA, and the governor came out on, and we said that, this is an issue that when you look at the audit findings, it was about 2019, and that already we had a plan in place in 2018 going into 2019 with the Republican administration. And when you look at it, the Republican administration has actually been in place for the first quarter of 2019. So this is, we're going to take credit, let's take the credit, but also let's give credit where credit is due. And when they tout about, the financial success based on a budget plan adopted, it's a budget plan that was adopted from the previous administration working forward. And, we just want to make the record clear and make everything, straightforward so that we can be on the right footing with everyone.
Carlo?
Sure. I think while we're clarifying facts, we might as well acknowledge two things. Number one, if we want to talk about the FY19 budget plan, BJ Cruz wrote that budget. I know because I was there, not Eddie Calvo. Number two, Tony is right. The budget plan did cover the last 3 months of the Calvo administration. Lulian Guerrero controlled the last 9. So a budget plan is a roadmap. What really counts is who drove the car. So Eddie Calvo, by the time he left office, left a deficit of about $80 to $100 million. With 9 months of expenditure control in 2019, we cut that deficit in half. That is a mathematical reality. There is no debate about that. The second contention in the Republican release was, and this is where the BBT comes in, that the only reason the deficit was reduced was as a result of increased revenue. That is, again, factually not correct. If you read the audit findings as well as the audit summary, it says very clearly that the deficit was reduced as a result of two things: revenues increasing as a result of collections, as well as expenditures in the executive branch agencies and government-wide decreasing. Executive branch agencies, expenditures decreased by 11.4 million, government-wide something close to 22 million. And so this reality, or the fact state that the deficit was indeed halved as a result of the present administration driving the roadmap created by the Democratic majority in 2019, and at the same time that the Republican Party criticizes the escalation in the BPT to 5%, it is the same party that agreed to spend that money along with the Democratic majority just 2 days ago in its passage of the budget. So I don't know how you can, in the one hand, criticize a 5% BPT, but then have nearly every Republican senator vote to spend it.
And Carlo, you got points there. When the Republican administration of Calvo Tenorio came in, they came in with over $300 million deficit, and over the years they worked down.
Well, actually, Tony, you deserve more credit than that. In 2012, the Republican deficit was zero because of borrowing in tax refunds. So if you go back to audited financials, at the end of 2012, the GovGuam deficit was zero. From 2012 to 2018, that budget deficit, that cumulative deficit, was nearly $100 million. So how you go from a surplus in 2012 to a deficit 6 years later is unbeknownst to me, but you guys were in charge.
And when you talk about the deficit, when Trump tax cuts came into place, and that's where and you agree, right? That's where the BPT, we had to increase the BPT in order to make up those tax cuts.
Absolutely.
And moving forward, yes, and probably every plan that we put into place, and that's why they're called plans, right? We adjusted the plan, and how do we come out with best financial stability for our government is what's key. And when we do that, then we're able to say, okay, this is where we come up with the surplus, and this is where we come up with the deficit. And I think when we do that, and we turn around and we talk about, okay, well, we ended 2018 with a $20 million deficit, or we ended 2019 with a
2018 was 10.5.
Yeah, I'm just giving an example. Right? When
I'm just giving facts, yeah.
A $34 million surplus, right? And it's because of the constraints of what goes on in the previous year and how we move forward. And yes, I think there's a lot of credit to be passed around, and I think credit also to the previous administration, credit to this administration. But we'll see now, moving forward, where 2020 and 2021 is gonna end up to be. Whether
I think that's a true and accurate point. And the second point that I want to make, Tony, is when Chris reached out to me yesterday to come on with you today, I said, honestly, there isn't much for Tony and I to debate, because the Republicans and the Democrats agree on the same thing. We both agreed to spend a budget that was based fundamentally on an increased business privilege tax. The only difference is one party won't spend the money and then issue a press release attacking it at the same time. How you do that, I don't necessarily understand. I know this because when I watched you on the debate stage and we asked the Republican candidates for governor how you would replace a $70 million tax hole in 12 months, neither side had a plan for that. And it is because those cuts in a single year would be so drastic to government services that you wouldn't just shut down a fire station and a police headquarters like the Calvo administration did. You'd effectively shut down most or all of the government. And so the reality is, while the Republican Party is advocating to take the majority, there really isn't much difference, because the Republican minority didn't propose a separate budget of its own. didn't propose revised revenues, didn't propose alternative revenue sources. All they pretty much did was agree with a budget generated by Democrats, which Democrats at Adelup have some serious concerns about. But the reality of the situation is, at a budget perspective, given the way your party voted 2 days ago, there isn't any fundamental difference between how we would govern. We know this because the Democrat budget plan was endorsed almost wholly by every member of your party.
Well, when you look at the legislature, naturally you guys control the majority. So what happens is that how many Republican bills have you seen on the agenda? I mean, what more making adjustments to the budget?
Well, I think the minority leader has argued that she's gotten the most bills passed of anyone. I haven't checked that number, but I heard her make that argument.
And so those issues come to play, and how bills come onto the floor. And when the Democrats,
That said, I would also say that I don't think Mary Torres has any problem passing bills in the Democratic majority.
so those are the issues, and and take it. You guys don't agree with the budget that the legislature passed. I mean, so is the governor going to?
I didn't say that. I said we had concerns, just like every administration has concerns, right? And so the challenge that I have is, I don't know how you can criticize the Democratic Party for its management of finances while at the same time completely endorsing its budget.
Well, it's not a complete endorsement of the budget.
Tony, you have 5 senators. 4 of them voted for the budget. That is the single most important document in all of legislative process, and you guys voted to support it.
Carlo, there are certain portions of the bill that every senator, every single senator down there has an agreement to certain portions of the budget bill, and they disagree on other portions of the budget bill.
Tony, the last 2 budgets you voted on, you were actually the second to last budget you voted on, you were the lone no vote. Why did you do that? Because you had a fundamental disagreement with the way the budget was built. So if Republicans don't like the way Democrats manage finances, why do you agree with them all the time?
You don't need to always agree with individuals, and you don't always need to disagree with individuals. It's the process that we go through in doing these things. Yes, the budget may not be good, but if those senators, and they're accountable and answerable to the constituents who voted them in, they're accountable to them. So why, whatever their reasons were for voting for the budget, then those are their reasons. But we need to continue to move forward, right? And
I guess this is my point, which helps us move forward. Can we stop arguing about the BBT? Since now my party's representatives and your party's representatives both voted for a budget to spend it at 5%. That would actually advance the conversation. We would finally get off a topic whose horse has literally been beaten to death. Since your party has agreed to spend a budget based on 5%, and my party agreed to build one based on 5%, can we both agree that we actually agree?
But it's actually your party that agreed to spend too. So let's not just put
yes,
one.
I'm saying yes, we both agreed. So can I now look forward to no more releases about the Republicans calling on us to cut the BBT when you just joined Democrats to spend it?
No, we didn't join the Democrats. We did, and we still.
Your party voted for a budget to spend the BBT increase you now say you don't like. You can't have one without the other.
Carlo, the BBT, when go out there again and look at the businesses. We're in the second lockdown.
Yes, Tony, we are on the second lockdown, and that is why this governor has voted to cut small business BBT to 3%, not 5%. I know that you agree with this also because because senators in your party agreed to vote for the same bills. So the smallest businesses on Guam pay no BBT at all. The second smallest group of businesses pay a BBT at 3%. So this administration did what even Eddie Calvo didn't do, which was if you are a small business, you either pay 0% in BBT or you pay 3%. Are you debating that fact?
It wasn't the administration. It was actually Senator Sinagusin that introduced the bill. And also,
yes, and we signed it. And it was also Senator Regine Biscoli who introduced the first cut. So in 2 separate bills, one introduced by Regine Biscoli and another introduced by Senator Sinagusin, this governor signed bills which cut the BBT for the smallest businesses twice. Something Governor Calvo didn't do when he advocated raising the BBT to 5%.
And if she was to veto it, they would have just overrode her. So the thing is,
Tony, we helped them write it.
The thing also, I guess your Democrat senators can't write their own bills, but that's okay. Anyway,
No, I guess when we're in the same party, we tend to work together.
5 to 3% is only 10 in 2 years. They're going to be in 2 years.
I'm sorry,
Carlo?
I'm sorry, I can't hear him.
In 2 years, that law sunset. So where are the businesses who need the help going to be at in 2 years?
No, Tony, the business privilege tax doesn't. Oh, the Dave Santos amendment sunsets.
That 5 to 3% sunsets in 2 years in June 2022, and that's going to be the time when people, we're going through this now, and people need help, but trying to recover in the years to come, and we need to look for something to ensure that the small businesses continue to prevail, because
Yes, Tony. And do you know why some small businesses can't pay lower than 3%? Because as a result of the $380 million you guys borrowed to pay tax refunds, no one can pay less than 3% because the bond covenants require it. So the Democratic majority and the Democratic governor found a way working within our bond covenants to say, if you are the smallest of businesses, we can figure out a way for you to pay 0 BPT. If you are the second tier of businesses, we can figure out a way for you to pay 3%. We'd like for them to pay even smaller than that. But as a result of the bond covenants you guys drafted, which ballooned our debt, we cannot go below that 3% for a certain tier of businesses. So when the Republican Party constantly says you need to cut the business privilege tax, if you care about the facts, you have to agree that we already did for the smallest businesses. Second, you cannot vote to spend a budget based on an increased BPT while at the same time issuing press releases that criticize the thing you just spent.
Carlo, when you look at it, right, on the BPT, that, like I said, it reverts back in 2 years. And when you talk about...
No, the BPT does not revert back in 2 years. The Dave Santos might sunset in 2 years, at which point I'm sure we'll work together to extend it. But I want you to acknowledge two things: that the Democratic majority, working with the Democratic governor, with the support of Republicans, cut the BPT to 3% for small businesses. Can we acknowledge that that is a fact? Yes or no?
What we can acknowledge is that you guys
Okay. So yes, can we acknowledge that the majority of Republican senators voted to support a budget based on a bigger BPT? Yes. So if we agree on those two things, can we stop arguing about it?
If we can agree that you guys will cut the BPT from 5% to 4% for all businesses.
You guys didn't even get that done in the budget you voted for.
Carlo, you're a Democrat.
I don't know. I don't understand. I think, Chris, at this point, we're going around and around in circles.
Yeah, I'm about to cut in,
I
guys.
cannot logically figure out how you attack the BPT and spend it at the same time. That is a feat of mental gymnastics I clearly am not capable of. But, if people can agree with Tony versus Tony, I guess they can do that.
Well, when you look at, like I said, when you look at the budget bill, every senator voted on it because there were portions of the budget bill they agreed with and portions that they didn't agree with. And eventually what they probably felt was that they supported what they needed to do. So,
Tony, when you were the lieutenant governor nominee I saw you champion the 5% BPT.
Carlo, just like it. Carlo,
Did you do it or not? That's all I'm curious about. Or am I misremembering?
when you look at where our government was that year,
Tony, we're in the same place. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is still in place.
Yes, but you guys are so according to you guys, you surplus 34%. 34 million. Get back 34
All right, let's break, guys. Let's break.
Make a profit, or they're not in the business to make a profit. They're in the business to help people. So don't be.
I don't know what government accounting class you took, but a surplus is not a profit if A, we weren't a business, and B, there is a cumulative deficit which you guys built. Right? So if you have a $500 overdraw in your checking account and you deposit $500, do you have $500 to spend, or do you have zero? You have zero because you were in a deficit. So I don't know how you exalt a surplus and say we have all this extra money while at the same time being the guy who built the deficit.
You guys keep saying you're financially stable, but yet, I don't see financial stability when are all the vendors paid? Are all vendors paid and it's zero?
Tony, you know what is the largest portion of the deficit? One of the larger portions of the deficit is vendor non-payment. So why do you think the governor said yesterday that some vendors, instead of waiting for 90 days, have to wait 180. That is the point of a deficit. When you have to use present year cash to pay for prior year obligations, you are enhancing and building the deficit, which means vendors, small business people, do not get paid. That is why a fundamental goal of this administration has been to eradicate the deficit, which Republican administrations built over all these years.
Well, then I guess
Actually,
you,
not even all these years, just the past 6. You were in surplus in 12.
pay to pay past due accounts, right?
I don't know, Chris. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this anymore to Tony. I feel like I'm shadow boxing, so I'd rather not.
Okay, guys. I mean, is there, before we wrap here at the end of the show, obviously very passionate on both sides, but is there anything we're in this pandemic, obviously you disagree, but is there any way that we can break bread and work together on anything?
And I'll be the first one to say this. I think that what I've tried to point out is that Republicans and Democrats do work together on a lot of things. The 2 times that we enhanced the Dave Santos Act to make it so that small businesses pay 3% BPT and the smallest businesses pay 0, that was a Democrat-led idea, but Republicans came along and they were very good advocates with us in that process. I think that even though Adelup has, very significant concerns about the budget, when you look at the past 4 or 5 budgets, they occurred with bipartisan support for the most part. So the Republican minority, when it isn't election year, works very well with the Democrat majority. The only thing that changes is usually 3 months before an election, they get press release happy and try to argue that they were different, while the last 21 months being almost exactly the same. So if Republicans agree with us 95% of the time, I'm not exactly sure what their case is for change at the legislature.
Tony, we're gonna give you the floor and let you talk to respond to that, Tony.
Yeah, we can move forward. And this is what it comes down to, right? It comes down to helping the businesses out there that support this government and give them the funding they need to operate. And if we continue to be in this pandemic, we need to ensure that, going from P-Core 3 down to P-Core 1 was not the solution. What we needed to do is take an approach to where let's find out where these hotspots are. Let's eradicate those hotspots and, not penalize all the businesses, because right now I don't know how this government is going to turn around and get the revenues they need to operate in the next fiscal year, the following, because the only way they probably be able to do it is to increase taxes again, but we need to start helping our people now. Actually, the help should have been when in March, when we first were going through this. Be as it may, let's continue to move forward. Let's continue to help our people. Let's continue to help our island. But most importantly, let's also help the business community who generate the revenues and the taxes for our island to move to live, and also for our business, our government to operate. And I always look forward with these conversations with Carlo. And who knows? Maybe one day you're going to see both of us drinking coffee and saying, "Hey, okay, let's move forward with these ideas."
Right. Yeah. I want to be there, guys. I mean, there's no dine-in now, but sometime down the road.
Tony won't share our secrets, but he and I work together to pass more than one budget.
Right on. Well, there you go. So there is hope, to quote a phrase that you might be familiar with, Carlo.
There's always hope, and all
I'm familiar with it.
Work together to bring that hope out, right?
All right, guys, let's hold hands. You ready? Kumbaya, my lord. Kumbaya. No, it was good having you guys, and thanks for coming in and debating that with each other. Obviously, again, we love the passion. Our viewers and our listeners love it too. So thanks for not being shy and getting in here and engaging with each other, because I feel like so much of our politics nowadays is press release, press release, press release, press release, and we're missing that human to human interaction that's so vital to solving a lot of our island's problems.
Both sides just need to bring out their points, right? And I think once we clear the air of what those points are, who knows? Like I said, we'd be able to come to an agreed road and take that road for recovery.
Right, and I actually want to thank Tony, because I know that yesterday He apologized to the governor for the tone and tenor of that release. So Tony's always been a bigger guy when it has come to partisan politics, and so he apologized to the governor. So there's no hard feelings either way.
And we just got to keep moving forward. We just got to keep moving forward and ensuring that, our people are always first and priority, and our island continues to dwell and flourish. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Bree.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Senator.
guys.
Thank you, Carlo.
Thank you.
Let's keep it in the cage, okay, guys?
Always.
Keep
Right
it in
on.
the Zoom room.
Keep it in the Zoom. Thank you, Senator. Appreciate it.
Stay safe.
Carlo, be safe. Guys, wash your hands. All right, 9:57. There you go. The rematch. I wonder if we're going to get a rubber match.
I don't know.
We
They
get
lost
it.
me at hello. you know.
Yeah. I like Manyaka's comment here. Perhaps giving time